So we have a SQL Server installed already. So to use it, you can use a few things like the command line or a few other shell type tools, or you can go ahead and use the GUI that Microsoft used to install with SQL Server installation. But since 2016, they stopped doing that, so now we have to install that one separately. It actually comes with another tool that they're kind of pushing out, Visual Studio Lite. It's called Azure Data Studio, and it's got it's basically Visual Studio Code with a few extra, was it digital or I guess data related features on there that they're really useful for SQL Server. We might jump into that a little bit as well. So first thing you'll need to do is download Management Studio. We'll need to go back to the browser, SQL Server Management Studio. All right, let's look for the official Microsoft links again, or Microsoft. All right, download. Looks like it. The newest one is 20.1. So I'm just gonna go 20.1. Save. And this may take a minute. As you can see, it's about half a gig. So hopefully you've got plenty of space on there. All right, finally. Okay, so let's click on full download history. Yep, it looks like it's going to say it's going to open when it's completed. Let's jump over there to the install. All right, so it is going to install directly to the C drive again. As I said, if I were using a server, I might offload that to another drive, specifically where I would keep the installs for the SQL Server, just to keep it away from the operating system. But that's to each their own. So you'll see that little thing pop up like this. When I yes, and this may take a minute. All right, so I will start this back up after a reboot, but what you want to see is we now have Management Studio 20. Eh, All right, so now that I've got it set up over here, you'll see Visual Studio popped up, and it's gonna be available for you to connect any instances that you already have on there. We just installed an instance, so let's go test it out. I've already had this one on here. I've actually got two instances. I've got a default, which is the name of the computer, and then I have a named, which is the name of the computer or server. It's going to use this slash, and it's going to be whatever name you give it, which happens to be SQL1. I'm going to use Windows Authentication. If you have Active Directory, then this is what you're going to use. And if you create a login or happen to be using the SA, you go to SQL Authenticated. We're going to go back to Windows, and there's a few other pieces over here. You can see that there's some other features you can connect to. We're just going to connect to the engine, and let's just connect. And it's not letting me for whatever reason. Optional. Let's see if that. Of course. So you fill out the trusted, and now you can see we have our SQL Server instance. We've already got some databases on here. I've installed more. One of them is Polybase, so there's 3 different databases for that. And then there was a replication demo. Another piece that you actually get from this install is Azure Data Studio. And it looks very similar to Visual Studio Code, but it's got a few extra pieces on here that I don't believe Visual Studio Code has, at least by default. You can make some cool graphs over here for this. Anyways, this concludes this module.